Hi, I'm Eileen Beard. I'm with Hotel Talk, and today I have Lara Scriba with me, and she is part of the book anthology Win the Wellness War. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Oh, you're welcome. I really am looking forward to sharing your story and all the wonderful healing and uh, all the information that you gained along the way and how you came to be where you are today and the things that you're doing in life. So the title of your chapter is Nursing a Soul Back to Life. So it's a story of how the beginning of a nursing career intertwines with one's recovery from an eating disorder. And then there were opportunities that enabled you to go through growth and nurturing yourself, discovery period, and new ways to really nourish that mind, body, spirit, the self, and recover. So welcome to sharing, and let's start with your eating disorder. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my eating disorder started when I was in high school, and I ended up, being hospitalized and taken out of school my senior year. So quite disruptive in all of that. It was an experience that I kind of took me off guard. I think it just slowly those behaviors started to creep up. I didn't have one, traumatic event that happened. I think it was a culmination of things that kind of added up together, and just my inability to cope or have the skills to be able to manage or process or move through different experiences as I was growing up. And it just manifested in this way. I hadn't previously known anyone that had had an eating disorder when I was struggling with it. And so it was just a very isolating experience in
Well,
all of that.
I'm sure it was a little scary at the time because it kind of takes over, right? It's like you lost yourself within that disease.
Absolutely. And I think that that's what, I think it's often perceived that it's a conscious choice, or that it's a very, that you just want to look good kind of thing in your bathing suit or feel better in your body kind of thing. And it's just a diet kind of gone wrong. But it's definitely a mental process that takes over. And then all of a sudden you've lost yourself in the process of, and your ability to control the narrative, the thoughts, the actions that you're taking, because it's this cyclical cycle that just it feeds into itself. And it's, yeah, you find that you're in this state where you need to reach out for help, but it feels scary, to reach out as well.
Well, and you spent many years with that disease trying to overcome and heal from it.
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, there's a distinction between, I feel like there was a clearer state of letting go of behaviors. But when it came to actually being able to feel at peace in my mind, was a different task as well. Of instead of managing or maintaining my eating disorder, recovery of not acting on behaviors, but then getting to the place where, I felt comfortable when I ate. I felt good about myself. And not even, about my physical body shape, but just good about myself in general, as a person, as a human. And then being able to have, that switch between that negative mindset and being able to embrace more of a positive mindset. So that is something that I feel like took many years. And of course, that's where I feel like the holistic work really comes in, of where you can really chip away at these patterns that exist within our being that are under the surface, and they're kind of that unconscious narrative that's feeding these negative behaviors that manifest in our lives, and that can ultimately take over, right, and destroy our lives.
Well, and you were fortunate that you referenced it as the phoenix, so that awareness of the phoenix rising out of the ashes, that you were able to rise above it and overcome it. So with what you just said, where was your turning point? What were you doing? And what was that moment where it shifted to the healing process and the recovery process?
Yeah, I think it was slowly throughout the years. There, I feel like that there was a distinct, when I decided to go back to school for my nursing, or go back to school and then choose to go into nursing was kind of that pivotal point. I had been out on my own for a while, and I was slowly destroying myself in many, many ways. And it was one of those that I knew I needed to go home, and I knew that I needed to start over. And so for me, that was the kind of very conscious choice. I relapsed many, many times in the years between, my high school year and then starting my nursing career. But I feel like that was that distinct choice of, okay, I need to build a future for myself. And what is that going to look like for me? And allowing myself to be, back at home and supported by having my family around, which keeps me accountable, right, for my behaviors. When I was out on my own, I could kind of do what it is that I wanted, which was not always healthy. So that was a really positive thing to step into that. And then also stepping into the healthcare field and feeling like I was building something for myself, but also building an awareness and an understanding of the human body, taking psychology and understanding the human mind better. And then when I was working with patients, then of course, just understanding human suffering on a larger scale. And these practices, and it helped to not be so personal that I was necessarily a failure or that there was something wrong with me. Everyone has a little bit more of a sense of permission to have a sense of grace about it all, instead of feeling like it was a personal failure that it had happened.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the nursing career helped you gain compassion for others, and then in turn gain compassion for yourself, so that through the healing for others, you learn to heal, love yourself, have that compassion towards yourself. And then that opened up a whole nother journey and path for you that I don't believe you were aware of, according to your story, until there was a shift in that negative thinking into the positive thinking. And that new path became the holistic healing, and you became a Reiki, or you got trained in Reiki. So tell me a little bit more about that shift and how that was pivotal in your truly healing and recovery.
Yeah. So I think, like you said, being able to witness other people moving through their disease states within their body, but then recognizing that there was this distinct other part. You could be managing the disease process and the symptoms, but when it came to actually the underlying issues that were accompanying that, and even if it didn't have to do with the disease per se, but family systems at home, support systems that didn't exist, stress levels or work levels, or financial issues that were undermining their ability to actually access care. So there were all these different things that when it came to having it be a whole picture was really, really important. And what I was realizing is the bigger picture of, you can manage the symptoms for so long, or you can effectively manage symptoms, but there's this other part of ourselves that needs to be nurtured and cared for. And how you would see that present in people, that you could tell when they had that different sense of awareness versus just simply trying to manage the symptoms. And that goes for patients, and also, physicians and nurses and everyone else, of like, where were we in this mix of what are we prioritizing when it comes to our own care or the care of, our patients. So
it sounds like you at some point were tired of being tired and fighting this disease and not seeing any results, and you took it into your own hands. So you became a yoga teacher and a numerologist. And is there anything else that you've added to the care for yourself and for others in that holistic space?
Yeah, no, I think I was really lucky. My mom actually taught me to read tarot cards when I was young. And so that was kind of in the background of something that I used. And it isn't actually until, probably the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years that I realized what an important part that has played in being able to build a sense of connection and a language of my own. Because I feel like when I was moving through all of this, there was this inability to connect or to articulate what was actually happening for me. And there was such a deep sense of disconnection of like, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what it is that I truly wanted, but I could articulate better, or at least have a sense of contrast when there was something that was presented. So it's like if you flip a card, or if if people have done like the affirmation cards or something, when you flip a card, you can tell automatically if your body resonates with that, or if you kind of call BS on it, like, oh, actually, I don't believe that about myself, or oh, that's a hard pill to swallow, like little things like that. And it gave me an opportunity to build a conversation within myself. And I think it's so important because we often lose that language or don't have that at all in the beginning. And like we were talking earlier, I think all these different practices that I've gotten into, whether it's Reiki, I've also done work in like Ayurveda and the habits and yoga. So the movement aspects of things, numerology, it's all to me as an essence of energy, of playing with and working with energy. So it's given me different ways and modalities to really explore within myself different experiences that I want to have, or challenging experiences that I'm having within my being, and then how to articulate what exactly is the problem, and then to kind of pull that apart and then be able to deal with the actual issue versus kind of all the noise that goes on the outside, letting that fall away and being able to say, okay, what is it that I actually need? And then moving into a place of action. So I think that's the biggest piece of things, is like we often have this awareness piece. And for a long time, there was a lot of just reading books and consuming and taking in information, but I wasn't able to move into that action piece of things where I actually would take the step to go do the thing that made my body feel better, or do the thing that made me feel connected, reach out to someone for help, or go for the walk to allow my nervous system to calm down. So for me, it was really building this library of tools that for different things I was able to know what to pull in that would create a sense of balance within my own being.
And that makes me think about you probably were like stuck in a fight or flight mode with what the traditional medical establishment was trying to help you with and trying to treat you with. So you were on pills, and the traditional way of it, of looking at a patient in that more boxed in perspective. And when you were able to start to broaden your awareness and see things from different angles and understand that there's multiple ways to work with our mind and our body to heal. You talk about breaking free. So what was that like when you had that moment of, wow, okay, I feel different. I see something, in this differently. What was that like for you?
Yeah, and that freedom, I the word that comes to mind right now is acceptance. It's like accepting who you are as a being, and I think that compassion, like you said, of that I can be there with what is happening right now, and I have the capacity within my being to handle it. So it gives you these different tools of like, okay, this feels so uncomfortable, whatever this urge or this thought or whatever else. But it gives that space or that pause to ask questions. I'm blanking on the name, but I think it's Byron Katie who has the questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Having that breath to just, okay, I can exist within this moment without acting out and harming myself further. Do I deserve that treatment. No, like, so starting to challenge your own behaviors and your own thoughts that you're having it's that, for me, was that sense of freedom of like, I don't always have to go down this path that I was so used to going down. And also just that acceptance, I think, too, of acknowledging that my body is and my mind are trying to create a sense of homeostasis. So instead of battling, and like, there was a quite some time that I was quite angry, and like quite just like feeling deceived by my, like, that I couldn't trust myself, and that I was inherently bad, and I had to kind of look outward for all these different things to regulate me or to create that sense of safety, because I wasn't safe within my own being. And by practicing these modalities allowed me to create a sense of safety within myself, of like, you can trust yourself that you are going to be able to show up for yourself. You can trust yourself that you do have the capacity to be with these difficult emotions or sensations or whatever it is. And you have the ability now to articulate what that is for yourself. And now I can actually ask for something, because actually I do have a support network around me. And then even in those moments, because I think, like you said, with Western medicine, there is this box, and there's only so much. I mean, the fullness of our human experience can never be, fit in this little box. And there comes a point where there's that responsibility of the self to get into that discovery mode of what is it that lights us up, what brings us alive, what makes us want to be here. And I think that figuring out what modalities really speak to you or allow you to access that sense of peace or ease in your system, like, I mean, that's where the beauty all comes in, right?
Oh, it is. It is. And my take on health and sickness is that dis-ease in the body, whether it's disease or disorder, whatever it is, it's not normal. That's not the way life is supposed to be. It's not what we're born to be here and to experience. And on the same token, though, through those dis-ease experiences, we become stronger. However, I do believe that we don't have to experience that to be strong, but the empowerment that comes through the spiritual part of us that allows us to rise above any dis-ease, disorder, is so incredible. And when we break free from that box, and you talk about having, and this insatiable need to read and learn and understand that higher awareness, and you talked about Louise Hay as being one of the mentors and important people who had books that you referenced. What was it about her that inspired you to take one foot, put in front of the other, to go down that path and kind of follow the path that she took to heal herself from cancer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was, I think, just seeing that she had that correlation, right? So it kind of mimicked what I was experiencing right now, of like looking up in a book, what was esophageal cancer and what were the symptoms, and she kind of had that laid out of like, if you're experiencing XYZ, then there was a mantra to go with that. Mm-hmm. And there was, some kind of dis-ease, like you were saying, that you're experiencing a stressor, whatever it is, like, what is it that could be attributing to this experience that you're having? And I just thought it was brilliant to be able to create a sense of agency. So even if we are collaborating with and working with our Western, medical practitioners and working within that system and taking medications if we need to, or doing surgeries or whatever else, but it's that sense of agency of feeling like you had the ability to have some ownership about where this path was going, and allowing yourself to and allowing yourself to build the skills, to build the resilience, to build the whatever it is that you needed to keep you afloat, until those symptoms started to resolve. And then hopefully it's that you start where it's less and less that you need the pills for your stomach or the medication for the back pain, or, yes, there could be something physiologically there, that there is a disruption in a system. But there's so much, I think, that our emotional states add to, and to that experience. And if we can even shed some of that, then the experience isn't as intense or painful. There's not so much suffering attached to it, when we're just simply dealing with the thing.
Well, and talking with you today and looking at you, you look like you got this like peace and peaceful. And I would never have known that you've had a eating disorder that controlled your life for many years. So what have been some of the lessons that you've learned? So for people who may have a disorder, eating disorder, any other disorder that they really want, they're ready to throw it to the curb and heal. What are some of the key lessons that you've learned along the way that you'd like to pass on to others?
I think the number one thing is to reach out for help. I think I was trying to do it on my own for a long time, even though support and help was there. I was just kind of stepping away and trying to figure it out on my own.
Right.
And I think that asking for help and allowing yourself the support that you need is imperative. And also to allow yourself to step into these circles, so that way you understand that you are not alone in the process, that you're not the only one experiencing this. There's so much ease that is brought in to someone's experience when they're able to be held in community. So I teach yoga for eating disorder recovery with a nonprofit that I work with, Eat, Breathe, Thrive. And we have 4 weeks together, and we do like 1 hour of psychoeducation, and we do 1 hour of yoga. And being in a room where people can talk about their situation and their experiences and the struggles they're having that day with their minds, or their bodies, and being able to talk and not have to explain themselves. They can just say what is happening and not have to do this whole backstory or anything else, and just show up as they are and know that they're going to be accepted and not judged, and also hear, the Me Too's, and then also hear different coping strategies that people have used. And the beautiful thing is that you're already doing it. You already have these things that exist within your environment that you are tapping into. It's getting to clear those channels, so that way it becomes the easy go-to, because when we're in those disordered patterns, it's this quick fix. We know it works. We know it brings ease within our system somehow, even though it's destructive. But it's learning to create these different pathways, so that way that becomes the go-to. And it's these neural pathways we talk, there's all kinds of studies out now about neuroplasticity and building these networks and all of that, which is, back then it wasn't necessarily mainstream. So, but I think that you can get caught up in the books and reading all this stuff, and it feels inaccessible, but it's really just seeking joy and following those pathways of where do you feel connected? Where do you feel lit up? Where do you feel good about yourself? Where do you have that moment where you forget about, how you feel in your body and overwhelmed by those thoughts? What are those moments when you step into that state of flow and that state of ease in your being, and start seeking that out more? And it's also this process of, often there's a terrifying feeling that somebody's going to take your stuff away from you. And as strange as that sounds, like you want to heal, but please don't take my behaviors away, because that's what's keeping me afloat. I feel like I'm going to drown otherwise. And so people get very clingy of like, I want to heal, but I need to keep doing this to keep above board. But it's remembering that instead of taking away and just leaving them kind of bare, and which feels very vulnerable, it's just adding in the joy, the connection, the ease, the walks in nature, all of these. And because it's starting to meet the need that the body is actually expressing, then the behaviors start falling away on their own because there isn't this need for them anymore. And I know it's much more complex than that, but in a nutshell, that's essentially how it's kind of worked. So there were no black and white, like, oh, and I'm done with my eating disorder, and oh, all my negative thoughts are gone. It's a continual process of,
well,
of
and I would say along the way, you started to feel heard and understood.
yes. Yeah, by others and by myself, you know. And that's the other thing is, like, don't discount how important it is for you to feel like you understand you and that you are the authority on what is happening in here, versus feeling like you need someone to tell you what you need to do or what you should be experiencing. And I think that's the power of the holistic work that we do, is that it allows you to go inward. It allows you to create that sense of connection and understanding and your own language.
So you say in the book that recovery is not linear, that the healing has no finish line. So as you continue to move forward in life and learn more and help others, what do you foresee in your future for continuing to grow and heal and transform?
Yeah, I think right now I just am kind of reveling in all the all the things that I just absolutely love the work that I do. I love teaching yoga. I love being with people, and having these types of conversations. I love seeing the light come on when they realize that I'm not giving them the answers, that they actually had it all along. I love creating spaces where there's that experience of embodiment and experience of ease and peace within the body that they didn't recognize was so easily available, and allowing that to, you know, in a 30-minute span, then they walk out feeling completely different than when they walked in. Of holding space, you know, when people are needing to talk and just talk it out, but as they're talking it out, they find their own answers, and being that, you know, non-judgmental space where I also am seeing your beauty, your brilliance, your wisdom, and I can mirror that back to you. And I'm just kind of like, well, I hear what you're saying here. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah. And it resonates because it's your own words, right? It's like, it's a sense of coming home that I love seeing in other people, of recognizing that they've had what they needed all along. And so for me, I know that I have an insatiable, like, I just love all these different modalities. So who knows where it's going to go, but I just love it for now. My newest thing was the writing, writing the story was my first time actually writing publicly, and especially having anything published. So I'm stepping into the writing piece of things now, and writing with a nurse agency, and starting to create some educational material for companies. And so yeah, I feel like I'm so surprised. I never imagined that my life would be what it is now, and I just kind of keep it open, like I said, to just following that essence of joy and what lights me up, and I'll just keep continuing to follow that.
Well, and that's so inspiring for others who may feel like there's no hope, and all they have to do is listen to this. And where can they find you to get more information?
Yeah, well, especially if somebody is struggling with their eating disorder, the program that I run, definitely, it's for people who are in eating disorder recovery. So there needs to be a stable place in recovery. But Eat, Breathe, Thrive is where they can go for yoga for eating disorder recovery. And it's a free program, we run it every month, and we have amazing facilitators there. And then I can also be found on larascriba.com, and I do Reiki distant energy work, and I also do numerology readings, which help to reflect back the innate beauty that you already have, and these beautiful conversations. And then I kind of teach pop-up yoga here and there online sometimes, but usually my yoga is with Eat, Breathe, Thrive in the recovery realm.
That sounds great. So you have the book handy. So hold up
Yes,
the book, and we'll say that it can be found on Amazon, Window Wellness, for
yeah,
awesome stories from many contributors.
that's
And I wish you all the best, and we'll definitely be getting you back on this show to talk about some other things. And thank you for sharing and inspiring, and just keep helping people.
thank you so much, Eileen, for having me. You as well.
You're welcome.